guys said that One West Fargo is kind of a cultural club, so can you tell us a little bit about you guys and how you're doing?
Well, so I'm a senior here, and technically it was kind of like a little idea that I had to talk to Bachmeyer about end of junior year about having like a little bit of an inclusion club because there's definitely a lot of stuff around the school that like you see and like don't speak of, but like you see it and it's there and you can't really ignore it. So I would talk to her and we were like, let's decide to have a group. So that's what happened. We decided to do a group. Ended up being a win session, so we did that. Then I had asked her to join me to help me make sure everything comes together right and well.
And she doesn't know this actually, but originally I had a similar conversation with this with my counselor, but it didn't end up happening. So when I had found out that, oh, someone is doing a cultural club and Sahara is part of like the kind of starting leading it, I was like, I'll definitely want to join. And so originally I began being part of this club as a member, just kind of like seeing what's going on, and then somehow I end up being one of the people that help it. And to kind of like I guess describe ourselves, I was originally born in Kenya, but ethnically I am Somali, and I also like grew up in America, and I grew up in like multiple states, and so I have seen like different cultures. There's sometimes where like I see people more of like the Southeastern, South Asian culture, and sometimes I see a bunch of like Somalis like me, and so I'm someone who definitely like I love like anything that's like culture related. Like I listen to like K-pop, you know. I watch like Hindi movies. So I'm always like kind of like been almost interested in the topic of just what culture is, and so I consume everything. So I feel like this club is definitely like perfect for anybody who wants to kind of know more about culture or just consume even more culture because they already have.
Yeah, like totally with the whole being like one culture and being able to be open to others. I'm totally Nigerian, and growing up, like I was born and raised in like a predominantly white like place. So like knowing your like getting used to different cultures and knowing your own is definitely a hassle because you got to make sure like you still know everything that goes on in your culture. Like what are things you guys do for like different type of topics and stuff like that. So there's that, and growing up with like I grew up with Somali people. I grew up with Congolese people. I grew up with different people like around Africa and just around everywhere. So like I definitely do see the different cultures and everything they do and everything that they honor and stuff like that. So there is definitely you get intertwined with different cultures the more you actually take that leap of faith. Is like, yeah, I want to learn about different cultures and like be able to let them know that they have an ally or they have somebody that is willing to understand, sit down and understand and learn about what they go through in a daily basis thing and what they do for different things.
Yeah. Okay, so I heard that you already kind of talked about this, but one of our first questions was, where did you hear about One West Fargo? And it sounded like you guys kind of started that topic yourselves.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing that has gone around in our friend group because we have definitely talked about having a club where people are willing to come in and talk about like their culture and definitely their experiences with like the type of maybe kind of like the type of things they do go through as being being yeah personal connections to being a different from a different place or being from like just all that. So it was definitely was a group idea beginning of like sophomore, probably freshman year, that ended up being just one thing where like one of us were trying to make it happen, so then like younger classes would be able to like have a place to go in and express their culture and express how they'll be able to be there for anybody of a different culture and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely, one thing for me is I noticed that there are already so many clubs for the minority like students at our school. So there's like the LGBTQI plus community club that started out, and then there's also even like robotics club, like anime club, and all these clubs of like people who either have like share a similar interest or share a similar personal belief. And I realized that there is like our school is definitely one of like the more diverse schools within our district, but yet there isn't a club that kind of celebrates that kind of specific culture diversity. And so I was like, hey, there should be something like that, and this is how kind of it was born.
Okay. And then one of our other questions was, what do you necessarily do in One West Fargo?
So one thing we do within the club, like during the Win 3, we usually do like little mini cultural appreciation. So there'd be students that would want to volunteer and share things about their cultures, whether it was food, whether it was dances, language, what they do in a daily, like what they stuff they do in like different aspects of life and stuff like that. So there are definitely those type of aspects. Right now we're focusing on, getting out the word of One West Fargo and the two little events we're having, so we have more people willing to be in the club and willing to, acknowledge that there is a club about culture and diversity, so they're not, thinking that they don't have anybody to talk to about their culture or try to understand what their culture is if they just realize where they were from and stuff like that.
Have you noticed a lot of positive impacts since starting it? Because I know you guys were talking about a lot of inclusivity, so.
I feel like one positive impact, it might not be as like a bigger impact, but it's definitely within seeing the people who show up to this club. There's definitely a lot of people who I didn't know, especially being a senior. There's so many like underclassmen that I'm like, oh, I know your face, but I really don't know who you are or what your beliefs are, what your interests are. And so being able to be in a club where there's, freshmen up to like seniors, and on top of that, there's people of all types of cultures and diversities, and kind of being able to like engage with them, even if it's like a quick 30 minutes, has definitely made like a positive impact. And I definitely can sometimes see like when they're smiling, or we're like there's days where we do showcases of like dances, and we're all like trying to follow along with like the person who's teaching us. We're all just laughing. I kind of feel like there's a lot of people who actually were there that maybe haven't been able to kind of laugh and kind of have this like cultural moment. And so being able to kind of having that small 30 minutes to hang out and, kind of talk with each other definitely has been like a positive impact within our own small community.
Also, another thing is probably like word to mouth. So there is definitely a lot of people that I myself have told, you should be in the club, because I feel like you would have a positive impact in the club, in which they have had. There are like different students that are in the club that definitely has done like, the whole word to mouth. Yeah, you should come, and they have like just a few moments ago we had new people there, and they were willing to do like fashion show portion of the events and just different things. So they're willing to volunteer themselves to be up front and share their different cultures and different stuff, which is definitely hard for some people to be up there and show that this is where I'm from and I'm not afraid to show it. So there's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah. And then this one was another one of ours, which is like, is each like meeting like collaborative, or is there like a president of the club or something?
I don't think there's a president of the club. I really don't think so, because I feel like between me, Black Cloud, and Ikra, we literally just sit there and we just talk about stuff. Like if I have an idea, I bring it to Ikra. Me and Ikra talk it out, and then we go to Black Cloud and we just talk about it. And usually she agrees with everything we say, so we just let her tell the group. But it's never really just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have a group for the members and a group for. It's never like that. If we have any ideas, we shoot it up to Black Cloud, or we shoot it to each other, and we end up bringing it to Black Cloud. So it's usually a collaborative thing between all three of us.
Yeah, and typically like what happens is Black Cloud will start off the meeting, and if that day there is somebody who had originally volunteered the previous week to perhaps showcase a dance or show a music video from their culture, or even bring food, we start off by that, and then that person will get the chance to stand up, and describe about what they brought. And then, but lately, these past two WIN sessions, what we have been doing is we have been kind of breaking up into small groups, because in the events, we want to show like the fashion showcase, and we want to have like a part where we do dances and all these type of stuff. And so what we've been doing is after Black Cloud kind of starts the whole session, we break off into the committees that we're off in, and we just continue to discuss more about what kind of culture we want to show and exactly how we want to make this showcase happen.
Cool. So like, kind of speaking of events, to kind of talk about, do you guys want to kind of talk about the events you're telling us before we went live, just so like some of the viewers can hear about what it was?
Yeah. So the March 4th one is most likely just a trial one of kind of resuscitating New Neighborhood Night. So it's just like, a little trial run. We'll have a fashion show, dances. We'll definitely have people that want to talk about like their cultures. There will be storytelling, poetry. So there's definitely a lot of like, it's more of an open mic night with a splash of culture in it. So it's definitely like a regular thing, like a regular open mic night, just a little bit of being eye-opening to a different culture or different things that, you know, cultures do. So it's definitely that.
And so then the April 2nd one is the bigger one. And so hopefully if the March 4th, 7th one goes smoothly, the April 2nd one, we will have a much bigger one where it's going to be out of school hours. So it's going to happen on Saturday. It'll still happen at the West Fargo High School. And we will be able to have more options such as like henna. We'll be able to have hopefully, and people will actually be able to sell their own like jewelry perhaps. I know like Sahara, she sells like waist beads. And so if anyone at the West Fargo High School has like a small business perhaps that they're doing, they're definitely more than welcome to come and kind of have their own little like setup booth and sell their own accessories and knickknacks. On top of that, we will, I hope to have even more people that are outside of the One West Fargo Club to kind of join and be a participant of the April 2nd interview. Because for now, like the March 4th one is kind of like trying to do a test run, so it's within our own group. But then the April 2nd one, I want it to be like a bigger thing where almost anybody who is part of West Fargo or even outside of West Fargo is more than welcome to come in and have a good night.
Yeah, and like more with the April 4th one, like we are gonna have all that stuff. We're also gonna have food. So like there's gonna be different cultures, like people that from different cultures, if they have like aunts or uncles that cook and they know how to make a specific dish from their country, they definitely could just like, you know, come have that food made. And like if anybody wants to test it and see if like they like it, or like if they have like, you know, different type of things that they would want to test out and see if they like or stuff like that from a different culture, they definitely could do that. So there's definitely a lot of cultural things that we want to enhance by the second one, so that more people will be able to just know that there are different cultures that are amongst like the Fargo Moorhead area.
Right. And then as kind of our last question, you said this is a club, so what time do you guys meet and how often?
Alright, so far, like Sahara mentioned, we have been doing Green Wind sessions, the third session, in the Miss Green's room. If you do not know, if you know where the EL office is, it is the door to the left, like right next to the staircase near the library downstairs. And so we have been having wind sessions third period at that time, but now that we are starting to work towards more the showcase on March 7th and then also the showcase on April 2nd, we have starting next week, we will have meetings on Tuesday after school. The room number is to be determined, but once we know, we'll definitely put it in announcements. And so if you're interested, even if you don't want to participate, you just kind of want to see like what behind the scene is, you're more than welcome to join.
Great.
Alright, well, that kind of wraps up. Is there anything else you guys want to say about One West Fargo?
Not really. Just that if there's if there is more people that want to join or see like what it is about, and like, you know, want to see different cultures and how they do stuff, they should definitely come. It's really an eye opener to some different things.
Cool.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thanks for having us.
Alright, so that kind of wraps up this live stream.
Our next live stream will be the Wednesday after we come back from break. So
Wednesday is that?
Wednesday the
Come back the 3rd, so it's the 5th.
the
Wednesday
5th.
the 5th is our next live stream.
And come and join us there. We'll see you after the break. Bye.